Every tool that actually becomes part of our daily lives runs the exact same arc. The first time you use it, it feels like magic. Then it becomes perfectly expected, and eventually it becomes indispensable. Think about the iPhone. The day it became a tool you couldn't live without was the day it stopped amazing you and simply worked every single time. It became reliable enough to disappear into your routine. The emotion that carries a product across that threshold is trust. You manufacture that initial magic once to earn attention. After that, the job is to deliberately engineer that magic into something so consistently right, it vanishes entirely. Most modern organizations run at a fraction of their potential efficiency because their operational knowledge is completely trapped. That knowledge is locked in two separate prisons. First, you have the systems of record, the CRMs and databases where the facts live, perfectly isolated from each other. Second, you have the people. This is the least queryable storage medium ever invented, where all the actual operating context is hoarded. The human is the only bridge between those two prisons. Work actually gets done through the swivel chair method. A person reads from one system, interprets what it means using their own hidden context, and then manually acts in another. This creates a massive bottleneck. A delivery slips or a deal goes cold. But because acting on that information relies entirely on a single person having the bandwidth to notice it, most of those signals are simply missed. They die in the void. You can't fire these human bottlenecks because too much of what makes the company run lives exclusively in their heads. To fix this, you have to unify the knowledge at the architecture level, long before a human is required to act on it. Hive solves this by acting as a literal operating system. Instead of running for a single computer, it stretches that architecture across the entire organization. The architecture is built on two axes. Axis 1 is the data flow. At the very bottom is rung 1, where the system ingests the raw exhaust of the business, every email, meeting, and update. But it doesn't just store that data, it interprets it. The system deduces facts, resolves duplicate identities, and binds them into a single knowledge graph. It carefully separates a hard observed fact from an inferred guess. Once that meaning is made, it moves up to rung 2. This is where those interpreted signals are safely surfaced to a worker to consume, staying entirely within the system's own walls. Executing flawlessly across these first two rungs guarantees the shared brain never compounds a mistake. That accuracy is the baseline requirement for earning organizational trust. If Axis 1 is where the data goes, Axis 2 is who actually does the work. Historically, systems only had two kinds of workers. You had the daemon, which handles completely isolated automatic tasks in the background, and then a massive gap, leaving everything else to the human to supply the judgment. Hive introduces a third worker into this engine, the agenticai. For the first time, there is a non-human worker capable of reasoning across the graph, designed specifically to sit right in the middle of that swivel chair. Instead of a person manually digging through inboxes and CRMs to find out why a deal stalled, the agent consumes that data, synthesizes the context, and hands a clean formulated draft up to the human, ready for the final call. The human stays in command. By taking over the tedious assembly of context, the agent achieves task automation that frees the person to execute their judgment, rather than attempting to replace them entirely. Data has one final destination. Rung 3 is where information leaves the system and touches the real world, sending an email or updating a client record. Actions here are completely irreversible. You can automate an incredibly elaborate workflow entirely inside the walls of Rung 2, but the system deliberately stops 1 inch short of release, handing a finished artifact to a human to pull the trigger. To cross that boundary, you have to climb a strict autonomy gradient. You start by having the system notify, then suggest, then draft, and only after proving its accuracy over and over do you grant it the permission to execute. Giving a system full autonomy on day 1 destroys credibility if it hallucinates even once. Trust is earned step by step. Shipping a perfect, human-verified swivel chair is how you actually prove the system is reliable. This means that every single thing we build, every data connector, every agent playbook, every detail in the UI is an act of trust engineering. We build the magic once so people pay attention. Then we spend all of our energy making it relentlessly, boringly right every single time. Through that methodical correctness, Hive and Saya stop being a novelty. The magic fades, the reliability takes over, and the system vanishes into the background, becoming the indispensable foundation of the enterprise.